Hi friends. So today I want to talk about Metta, Metta, not the company that owns Facebook and Instagram and so on and so forth, but a Buddhist concept that is almost always translated as loving kindness. So I'll try to make this as simple as I possibly can. The Buddha recommends essentially 4 ideal mind states. And the first and most famous one is Metta. Like I said, it's translated as loving kindness. And these 4 mind states are called Brahmaviharas, the dwelling places of the gods. The idea is that a divine being would permanently abide in these positive qualities of the mind. Their minds would be completely saturated with them. And so, because I certainly don't, exist in a state completely free of negative emotion, negative thoughts like rumination and so on and so forth, anger, frustration with the world, or desire for things that I don't really need, because I don't exist in a state of completely free from those things. These 4 Brahmaviharas are the Buddhist suggestion for ideal mental states. And Metta is, like I said, the most famous one. It's translated as loving kindness. Or you could think of it as goodwill. So you've got, the reason loving kindness sounds kind of fluffy and soft, but it's pretty good, because you've got the loving aspect of things. Sometimes it's easy, or there's things that you love, people that you love, or it's easy to bring love to yourself. It's the loving side of it. And other times, to say that you love something, like I've been talking a lot about animals, but maybe it would be silly to say like, oh, I love the squirrel outside that eats the nuts I feed or whatever. That'd be kind of intense. But but to have kindness for it, or to wish it goodwill, is pretty easy. So together, it kind of covers the whole gambit of possibility. But the idea is that Metta, having Metta, and the key part, cultivating Metta, is that you can wish goodwill for yourself first, and then for people, things that you enjoy and like, and then for people that you are neutral about, and eventually to people that you genuinely don't get along with, your enemies. Right. So I said cultivate because I think the big difference between authentic spirituality or spiritual practice, the word spirituality is completely hopeless, to be honest, but you got to use conventional language when you're talking about this kind of stuff for the most part. Or you have to start with conventional language. That's probably a more accurate way to put it. But I think the big difference is the cultivation versus just knowing about it or thinking about it. So you could read all kinds of books or hear monks talk about Metta, and I recommend it for sure. It can be really inspiring. Or even there's kind of a new age thread that's like, or like have positive vibes. It's kind of similar to Metta, but what Buddhist monks do and what the Buddha is recommending is the cultivation of Metta, and I don't think it's that mysterious. I think it's very basic. It means really practicing having loving kindness for yourself and for other beings as a lifestyle, as something you do. Like if you are in the habit of brushing your teeth every day, it's something you've worked into your schedule. It's something you just accept as part of your life. And you do it because you know that it gives you positive benefits. Or most of us drive cars. So if you're driving, you've kind of trained yourself to have this incredible amount of attention while you're driving. You're paying attention to the rear view mirror and the side view mirrors and all these cars that are driving around you, etc. That doesn't happen without a lot of effort. And everyone can remember, has friends who like drive late in life, and you're not a good driver initially at all. You're terrible. But you have to cultivate the skill of driving. And that means taking it seriously and doing it as a practice over and over and over again until it's second nature. And that's what, again, like I don't think it should be considered like with metta and with other spiritual concepts. I don't think it should be put in a realm of esoterica, or you should consider it very mystical. I think that actually is really counterproductive. Instead, you want to wish goodwill to yourself as often as you can. So however you can work it into your life, like when you wake up, you say, you realize you're awake again, you say, oh, I wish for good things to happen to me this morning, or I wish that I'm free from suffering today. When you're having a bad moment, when you're having negative thought patterns and you're aware of them, it's like, oh, this is really tough. I wish goodwill and love to myself. I hope that I become free of this suffering as soon as possible. And this can become a way of living life. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Sometimes people might find it most difficult to give it to themselves, to have metta, or give metta to themselves. So you can start with someone that you really find it easy to have metta towards, maybe a lover or a family member, a dear friend, a pet, something like that. And you can also, what's cool, metta is very flexible, and yeah, or if it's awkward to think about it in terms of metta, you could think of it as good vibes or goodwill or loving kindness, whatever works for you. But it's very flexible, and what I mean by that is it can be a meditation. Like you could sit down and very intentionally wish goodwill and loving kindness to someone that's easy to do it to someone that it's neutral, that you don't really care about one way or the other, and then to wish loving kindness to something or someone that is more difficult, that you initially have challenges with. And it becomes easier and easier. Okay, so that's the basic concept of metta, right? And I would recommend listening to Buddhist monks talk about it too, because we all sort of have an idea that this is a good thing to do to some degree, to have positive intentions towards people and towards ourselves. But it's something that's been practiced for a long time, for many thousands of years. Buddhism started, 2,600 years ago. I think that's around when the Buddha supposedly was walking the earth. So monks have been practicing this for over 2,000 years. And in our age of positive psychology, we know that having positive intentions is good for us. It makes us feel good. And it could be that our positive intentions have effects on other people too. That thinking, may this person enjoy happiness today, may they find what they seek, and may they be free from suffering. Wishing something like that might have an effect on someone else, on your target for metta, but it certainly has an effect on your own mental state. And that's really what I'm interested in, is changing my own mental state. Okay, so if you watch like YouTube videos, or you read books about monks talking about cultivating metta, it's something they take very seriously, because in a lot of places where Buddhist monks do their thing, have monasteries, etc., like in the forests of Thailand and Burma, so on and so forth, there are a lot of really dangerous wild animals. There are poisonous snakes, tigers, wild elephants, etc. And Buddhist monks take a vow to not kill anything, and they also are not allowed to carry weapons, etc. So it's not like a Buddhist monk is going to defend itself with a firearm or something like that. Their chief protection is metta, is wishing goodwill. And they have chants for this, all kinds of different methods, but it's for wishing goodwill to these animals that might potentially harm them. And I don't know, so much of stories are hagiocratic and, are, it's hard to separate fact from fiction, obviously. But I believe a lot of these stories. You have to check them out yourself and tell me what you think. But there's so many, especially with poisonous snakes, there's so many different stories of monks protecting themselves with metta against poisonous snakes. It's really interesting. But like I say, worth checking out. Lots of cool stories. I think that animals respond to our mental state. Well, I know they do. Like, for instance, take dogs. Dogs know if you're like extremely agitated, stressed, fearful. A dog who is not great with people will be really edgy around you. Whereas if you're calm and confident around a dog, then it generally will be much easier to deal with. We've all had experiences like that. And so it makes sense to me that it would apply to wild animals as well. I think I've certainly experienced it. Okay. But the key, or where I want to take this, or where this really becomes important to me, is in our daily life. Because so much of our interaction with people is based on the state of mind that we bring into the relationship or interaction with those people. So all of us have challenging relationships at work or just in daily life, maybe in the grocery, doing chores, on the road, driving in traffic, in our families, etc. We all have these challenges. And it's human nature in a lot of ways, but a diluted human nature, to focus on the conditions or the actions, the external elements of the relationship. For instance, when you're at work, you might focus on what someone said or someone did. It becomes this very mental. It's very mysterious because it's very interesting, I guess I should say, because in one sense it's internal in that you're getting caught up, or we get caught up in the mental aspects of living. But in the other sense, it's very external because we're reacting to facial expressions when we don't know. Maybe the person has a toothache or something, and we're assuming their mental state. Anyway, I think you can understand what I'm getting at. But to me, this is where metta becomes really, really powerful. And that's why I first wanted to talk about how metta has been used by Buddhist monks as a protection against wild animals, because it's essentially the same kind of thing. Being at work with or in traffic with agitated people, let's say, is kind of like being in a situation with dangerous wild animals. And in the sense that you can easily feel threatened. And this, like I said, is where metta becomes really, really powerful. What I found is that in all these challenging situations in life, if I can remember to practice, to cultivate metta in those situations, the external conditions of my life change according to what I bring to the situation. And I think that this is fairly obvious. Like, we know that when you're in a great mood, you're not as easily bothered by things. We know in a very general sense that the state of mind we take into the world is somehow, either in a very obvious way or in a very mysterious way, it depends on the person and how they perceive existence, their existence, but it also just depends on the day. Sometimes things are just really, sometimes life just plays it straight, and sometimes it's very mysterious. That's how I experience things. But we all kind of know that whatever state of mind we bring to the world, that has a huge effect on what we experience. And metta, like I said, it's one of these ideal mind states that the Buddha is recommending. So it's basically, it's like an ingenious way, an ingenious mental game. Mental game. I'm trying to, make this as modernly applicable as possible. So what I found is that and it's also very sneaky and secretive, like in a beautiful way. So like in traffic, for instance, like no one needs to know that I'm wishing them the best day of their life, or that they achieve whatever they want to achieve, close whatever deal they want to close, are free from suffering. It's incredible how pleasurable driving my car can be. And I don't really, I'm a cyclist. I love cycling, and driving a car is always second to that, right? It's a way of getting around. It's A to B, it's handy. But like I'm saying, and this video is going way longer than I intended, so I'm sure I'm rambling a lot. But I hope you can understand what I'm saying, and I hope it makes some sense to you. And I would encourage you to look into this concept and to see if it adds some value to your life, because it really, the reason that I love the Buddha Dharma and the Buddha's teaching so much is that it's so clear. It's so immediately applicable. And this is one of those things from Buddha Dharma that I've plucked out and really gotten a lot of value for. Just cultivating metta, cultivating loving kindness as just like brushing your teeth, as something you do every day for yourself. Self-love, that's one way of thinking about it, but you want to extend it to yourself, to people that you find neutral in some way, and then to people that you typically have a negative experience with. It can become all-embracing, and I'm certainly still working on it. And yeah, let me know how you experience this kind of thing. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.